As I walked through a crowded street just days before my wedding, an old woman suddenly grabbed my hand. Her eyes, filled with something between sorrow and urgency, locked onto mine as she whispered a chilling prediction about my future. At first, I laughed it off. But as her words began to come true, I realized she might have just saved me from the biggest mistake of my life. Subscribe to Stories Unfolded for more unbelievable real-life twists, shocking encounters, and stories that will leave you questioning fate itself. I had always believed in love, but not in fate. I wasn't the type to read horoscopes or consult psychics. Life, to me, was about choices, not destiny. And I was sure I had made the right choice with Ryan, my fiancé, my best friend, and the man I was about to marry in just 5 days. Everything was perfect. Our wedding was set to be an elegant, intimate affair. The venue was a breathtaking garden overlooking a quiet lake. The dress was a dream come true, and the guest list was filled with friends and family who had supported our love from the beginning. I had spent months planning every tiny detail, from the flower arrangements to the menu, making sure it was a day we would never forget. Ryan was everything I had ever wanted, charming, successful, and devoted to me. From the moment he proposed, I never had a doubt in my mind that we were meant to be together, until the day an old woman grabbed my hand and shattered everything I thought I knew about my future. It happened on a quiet afternoon. I had stepped out to pick up my wedding shoes from a boutique downtown. The streets were busy, people rushing about, lost in their own lives. As I turned a corner, I felt a sudden, firm grip on my wrist. Startled, I looked up to see an elderly woman, her weathered face framed by a deep red scarf, her eyes piercing as they locked onto mine. She looked frail, but had an air of quiet power about her. "Child," she murmured, her voice both soft and urgent. "You must not marry him." I let out a nervous laugh, thinking she was just another eccentric stranger. "I'm sorry. What?" She didn't let go. Instead, she traced a wrinkled finger over my palm, as if reading something written on my skin. "If you go through with this wedding," she continued, "you will regret it. He is not the man he claims to be." My heart skipped a beat. "What are you talking about?" I asked, trying to pull my hand away. But her grip was surprisingly strong. "I see pain in your future," she said, shaking her head. "Lies, betrayal, and a choice, one that will determine the rest of your life. But if you leave now, you can still be free." A shiver ran down my spine. I had never been superstitious, but something about the way she spoke sent a deep unease through me. It wasn't just her words, it was the way she knew. She sighed, finally releasing my hand. "You don't believe me now," she said, "but you will." And with that, she turned and disappeared into the crowd, leaving me standing there, my pulse racing, my wedding shoes forgotten in the bag at my side. I tried to shake off the encounter, telling myself it was nothing more than the ramblings of a superstitious old woman. But as I walked home, her words clung to me like an unwelcome shadow. Lies, betrayal, a choice that will determine the rest of your life. That night, as I sat with Ryan, sipping wine and going over the final wedding details, I studied him in a way I never had before. He looked the same, handsome, confident, his blue eyes twinkling under the glow of the candlelight. But suddenly, I felt something I had never felt before with him. Doubt. He is not the man he claims to be. The words echoed in my mind, and for the first time, I questioned if I really knew Ryan as well as I thought I did. I decided to push the feeling away. After all, what proof did I have? He had never given me a reason to distrust him. But then the small things started happening. Things I would have ignored before. The first thing I noticed was how secretive Ryan had suddenly become with his phone. It started the night after my encounter with the old woman. We were curled up on the couch, watching a movie, when his phone buzzed on the coffee table. He grabbed it quickly, his fingers tightening around the screen as he turned it away from me. "Who was that?" I asked casually. He hesitated, just for a second, but long enough for my stomach to twist. "Just work," he said, setting the phone down without looking at me. I nodded, but something about the way he did it felt off. The next few days, I caught him doing it more, ignoring certain calls, stepping out of the room to text back, deleting messages before I could glance at them. It wasn't like him. Ryan had always been open with his phone. We never had secrets. Or so I thought. A few nights later, as we sat finalizing wedding expenses, I noticed something else strange. Ryan had been handling most of the payments. He insisted on it. But that evening, as he went to transfer money for a last-minute vendor, I caught a glimpse of his banking app. And I saw something that made my breath hitch. A hidden bank account. I wasn't the kind of person to snoop, but my curiosity got the best of me. The next morning, while Ryan was in the shower, I checked his laptop. I knew his password. It had always been the same. What I found made my blood run cold. The account had over $50,000 in it. Money I had never known about. And worse, there were frequent withdrawals to a name I didn't recognize. Cassandra L. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the transactions. Who was she? Why was he sending her money? Was she another woman? I felt sick. I confronted Ryan that night, my heart hammering in my chest. "I need to ask you something," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Who is Cassandra L.?" His face drained of color. He set down his fork, his grip tightening around the silverware. "Why are you asking me that?" "Because I saw the bank account," I admitted. "The one you never told me about. And I saw the money transfers. So I'll ask again. Who is Cassandra?" For a long moment, he just stared at me, his jaw clenching. Then, finally, he let out a slow breath. "You shouldn't have looked through my stuff," he said, his voice eerily calm. I felt a chill go down my spine. "That's not an answer," I shot back. "Ryan, we're getting married in 2 days. If you don't tell me the truth right now, I swear to God, I'll walk away." His nostrils flared, his usual charming demeanor cracking for the first time. Then, after what felt like forever, he spoke. "Fine," he said, running a hand through his hair. "You want to know the truth?" He leaned in, his blue eyes dark and unreadable. "She's my ex-fiancée." I felt the room spin. "Your ex-fiancée?" I repeated, barely able to get the words out. Ryan sighed, rubbing his temples. "It's complicated, okay? Cassandra and I were engaged before I met you. Things didn't work out, but she needed help. Financially. I've been sending her money for a while." I swallowed hard. "And you didn't think I deserved to know?" "I didn't want you to freak out," he snapped. "Freak out?" My voice cracked. "Ryan, this isn't some little secret. You've been hiding money and lying to me about another woman for God knows how long." "She's not another woman, Anna," he said sharply. "She's just someone from my past who needed help." "But you're about to be my husband," I whispered, "and you've been lying to me. How am I supposed to trust you now?" For the first time, I saw something flicker across his face. Not regret, but frustration. Maybe this was a mistake, he muttered under his breath. And right then, it clicked. The old woman's words, the warning. He is not the man he claims to be. She had been right all along. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my engagement ring feeling heavier on my finger than ever before. By morning, my decision was clear. I called off the wedding. Ryan was furious, of course. He called, texted, even showed up at my apartment demanding I reconsider. But I couldn't. Not after what I had discovered. I wasn't just walking away from a wedding. I was walking away from a lifetime of lies. Looking back, I wonder what would have happened if I had never met that old woman. If she hadn't grabbed my hand and given me that warning. Would I have ignored the red flags? Would I have gone through with the wedding, only to wake up months or years later in a marriage built on deceit? I'll never know. But what I do know is that sometimes the universe sends you signs in the most unexpected ways, and I will always be grateful that I listened. If this story gave you chills, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stories Unfolded. Have you ever had a gut feeling that saved you from something terrible? Let us know in the comments.